Hello everyone, this is Gene from NYC and I'm back with another video. So this is my second return video, and given that the first one was talking about Star Trek, I decided that the next one should be about the Picard trailer that came out, I believe about a week ago. I believe it was during San Diego Comic-Con. So before I discuss that, thank you as always for taking time out to listen to my videos and to open your mind to hear what I have to say. Whether this is the first video you viewed or the 100th one, thank you so much for hearing me out and for viewing the videos and for subscribing, liking, however you decide to interact, leaving comments. It's all grateful. All I ask is that don't be a troll and don't be a jerk. I will kick a person off if they are trolling, but otherwise I have no issue. But anyway, on to the trailer itself. So I'm going to try to basically recall it by memory and just discuss the parts that, as I was saying, I'm going to try to recall it by memory and just cover the parts that really stood out to me. So the trailer starts out with a narration from Picard. We get a little bit of story that Commander Data sacrificed his life to save Picard 20 years ago. And given the, very, I would say somewhat broken way Picard speaks and the very sort of weak, haggard look he has, I would say that, he's probably suffering from survivor's guilt and whatnot, which, again, makes sense. He's certainly the type of character who would take the death, right, of a beloved crew member, especially if that crew member died in his defense, intensely personally. I mean, especially since, if I remember correctly, it was during the episode Measure of a Man, where Picard argued basically that I was almost gonna say Spock. Sorry, that Data is a sentient being, and he's more than a machine, and that he has rights, right, to his autonomy, and has the right to decide whether or not he'll be experimented on. So, given that history, right, I could certainly see Picard being upset and depressed if anyone on his crew, even the technically the robot man, died or sacrificed themselves in his defense. So we get a little bit of the premise. That doesn't bother me. It makes perfect sense. So the next big thing is that we get this girl who approaches him randomly and says that she doesn't know why, but she feels safe with him. She basically pulls a Obi-Wan, you are my only hope type of thing on him. We see him speak to a female admiral, and then immediately, well, I should back up a little bit. We see him talking to the female admiral, and he says that if this girl is what he thinks she is, or who he thinks she is, then she's in danger, right? So it's all this intrigue. And then we see her running from laser beams being shot at her and fighting off multiple assailants. And here's like the first big mistake I think the trailer made. To me, this is a case of dueling narratives, right? You have the first narrative being, well, she needs Picard's help, right? She needs to be under his protection. She says that herself. I don't know why, but I feel safe with you. So she's vulnerable. She needs to be protected. That's what the trailer's trying to sell us on, right? Then immediately after, right, we see her, outrunning laser blast, and she's being attacked, and she fights off her attackers. In my opinion, a trailer should not do this. It shouldn't have two dueling narratives. Pick one. Either she's vulnerable and she needs Picard's help, and she needs to be under his protection, or she can take care of herself. Imagine for a moment like the wolf scene, the wolf attack, in the animated version of Beauty and the Beast, right? Imagine if that scene goes the way it does, and Belle's on her back and she's disarmed, and the wolf leaps at her, and instead of the Beast, jumping in to save her, instead she just fights off all the wolves by herself, right? For me at least, it creates a frustrating disconnect. How in the world would she be helpless one minute and then be able to fight back and protect herself the next? Pick a narrative. Either this girl needs Picard's help and his protection, or she can protect herself. Don't have these two narratives fight each other. It's just a bit irritating to me. And the interesting thing is that the funny thing is that I actually get Battle Angel Alita vibes from this character, even though she's not featured. And let me explain why. First, the look, right? She's very slim, dark hair, wears a lot of black. And honestly, her, again, with this dueling narrative thing going from I need help to being able to fight people off, it kind of reminds me of that scene. To be clear, I'm more familiar with the manga than I am the anime or the film that came out earlier this year, though I probably will see the film at some point. But anyway, right, there's this scene early on in the film or in the manga where, Alita follows Ido and he's getting his butt kicked and whatnot, and then she suddenly discovers, right, that she can fight and she's a crazy good martial artist and all this other stuff. And I'm getting that sort of same vibe from this girl throughout the trailer. There's even a part later in the trailer. There's even a part later on in the trailer where one of the members, I guess, of Picard's crew is talking to another member, and they're talking about, if she, doesn't know who she is, and if she knows who she is, she's going to be a danger to us all, right? So there's this sort of intrigue about her. It seems to be about her not knowing who she really is and how dangerous she could possibly be, which again fits in with Battle Angel Alita. Spoilers. It's eventually revealed in the manga that she pretty much destroyed the world at one point, which is why she's such a good fighter. And then of course she got amnesia and all this other stuff. So I'm just saying. I'm getting a lot of Battle Angel Alita vibes from this character. I don't know if that's intentional or if that's just me drawing from a reference pool, but that's the impression that I get. So after that, we get a few shots of what I guess is going to end up being Picard's crew. And this is something else where I think there was a mistake made. And the reason I say that is because, well, there's two mistakes I think they make here. First is actually with the visuals. We get a couple of quick shots of who may end up being the bridge crew. And none of the characters were all that visually distinct, right? One of the hallmarks of Star Trek, and you can see this through any movie or any TV show, video game, comic, whatever it is, right? That each of the main characters has a visually unique and distinct look to them. And from the quick shots of the main crew, right, that I saw, it doesn't seem to have that here. Again, maybe that'll change in the show, but all I can do is go by the trailer. And so there was no visual distinctness, right? Nothing stood out about these who are most likely going to be the main ensemble cast / bridge crew, right? And again, for Star Trek, you need that visual distinctiveness, right? If I say Deanna Troi, right, you might think of her big hair. If I say Mr. Spock, you might think of his ears or his eyebrows. If I say Benjamin Sisko, you may think of his lack of hair or his goatee, right? So on and so forth. Each character, Kira, right? Decked out in red hair, red catsuit. Each character had something visually unique and distinct about them. Riker and his beard, right? And I'm a big believer that you need that your main characters need to have unique, distinct looks, as in you could put them in silhouette and you could still identify them. So seeing these very plain Jane looking characters who may end up being the bridge crew was a bit disappointing for me. Right, so there's that. There was also one character who didn't look real. It wasn't even a matter that whether or not he looked human or like an alien. He legit didn't look real. It's the one who has like the pointed ears and the long hair. He kind of looks like an elf, like an elven character out of like an RPG or something. And I don't know if I'm trying to reserve judgment because maybe he's a hologram. Right, that the fact that he could be the fact that he doesn't look real might be the point. Maybe he isn't real. I don't know, but I just found that just very visually jarring, seeing Picard speak with a character who obviously does not exist. Right, it's not just an alien or a man in a costume or anything like that. This person is not real in any sense of the term. So again, whether it's supposed to be a realistic looking hologram, I don't know. But again, I just found it a bit visually jarring, right? And then there's this scene, very brief, of it looks like they're like flying in space or whatever, and you see this like scruffy looking guy sitting in the captain's chair, and Picard's like literally like on the right hand side, right? Like, is it the right hand side? Yeah, I think it's the right hand side. Literally, just like falling away, falling like out the shot, out the scene. He's like barely a blip. I'm like, no. This is supposed to be Picard. This is supposed to be about him. If he's featured in a scene, let him be in the center. Let him be in the captain's chair, right? Let him be front and center. And plus, this guy, whoever he is, right? He was totally man-spreading. That's not a term I use often, but he was totally man-spreading. It wasn't just a case of he's sitting with his legs kind of wide. Dude looks like he's about to bust into the splits while sitting in this chair. The way he sits in the captain's chair kind of reminds me of how like a cocky or arrogant like ruler type character sits, and they're kind of like leaning back and like slouched on the throne, and their legs are spread. It's like I could imagine like Shao Kahn from the Mortal Kombat games sitting the way this guy does. Note to self: if you remind a viewer of an evil warlord with the way you sit, change the way you sit just a tad. Just a tad. I don't know if that was intentional or not on their part, but it's just so exaggerated the way this guy is sitting. I'm just like, no, get him off the screen. He's trying too hard. But again, that's just the impression that I get. So we have that, right? And then did I cover? I said that there were two. There was the fact that dude isn't real, the way the guy's sitting, falling off to the side, not being. Yeah, I think I've covered everything that I want to cover with that part. Oh, the second thing I was gonna say, or the fourth, fifth, whatever I'm at now, is that what I'm hoping is that, because there are a few scenes where, like in this one with the guy sitting in the captain's chair, where it almost looks like Picard is going to be a side character in his own show, and I hope that doesn't happen. I don't want this to end up like Van Halen. And for those who don't know what I mean by that reference, let me explain. Right, Van Halen is most famous for their frontmen, in particular David Lee Roth, and then after David Lee Roth, Sammy Hagar. The band, however, Van Halen, is named after brothers Eddie and Alex Van Halen, who are in the band but they're not nearly as well known or as prominent, right? It's their frontmen who stand out, not them necessarily. You might know them if you're a rock fan aficionado, or you might know Eddie if you really follow, what's what I'm looking for, really follow like guitars and you're really into the hard rock sound and all that type of stuff, right? And I think what does Eddie and Alex, what does Alex play? I think he plays bass, either bass or drums, I forget. See, this is what I mean. I can't remember which instrument Alex Van Halen plays. This is exactly what I'm talking about, right? If this show is supposed to be about Picard, and again, Picard is a former, lead character on a Trek show, let him indeed be the lead. Let him be the star. Let him be the front man, right? Maybe it's just me jumping the gun a little bit, but again, I do think it's a valid concern. I'm not gonna say criticism, but I do think it's a valid concern. I don't want Picard to be overshadowed by anybody, right? It's like when you read a comic, right, and the guest star in the comic ends up overshadowing the hero of the comic book. I don't want that to happen to Picard. If the show is going to be called Picard and your lead character again is the former lead captain character for TNG, let it be about him. He should always be the most important character, right? You can have sub-characters, subplots, that's all fine, but nobody should outshine him. And there were a few instances, such as, for example, with this bridge crew, when they're flying, where he is outstaged. I mean, he's literally falling off the side, falling out the shot in one scene. So I'm hoping that they'll address that and make sure that, again, that he's not overshadowed by his co-stars. So there's that. So then after that, we get a few more people talking about Alita Battle Angel. That's how I'm going to refer to her here. And I don't mean that in any insulting way. So if you're an Alita fan, don't get triggered. I say it in jest. But anyway, so they're talking about Alita Battle Angel and about what might happen if she ever figures out who she really is, right? And all this other stuff. And then we see a Borg cube very briefly, and then probably one of the two biggest reveals is the return of Jeri Ryan as 7 of 9, right? So the way they have her speaking and the way she's dressed, right? She's obviously not dressed in a cat suit. We only see her head, but we see that she's wearing a sweater, that she's wearing a jacket, her hair is loose and free. So, and in the way that she speaks, if I remember correctly, the way she greets Picard, who seems to be drinking a whiskey or some sort of alcohol, which is interesting because I don't remember him being much of a drinker. So maybe it's another visual narrative thing that maybe he's turned to drinking or something to cope with the emotional pain and guilt that he feels, which is certainly a very it's one of those things that's very sad but true. So I'm not bothered by it, but I did find it interesting. I was expecting at some point to hear tea, Earl Grey, hot, and it never happened. But anyway, so the scene, he's pouring some sort of alcohol, and we hear a voice say, "What the hell are you doing out here, Picard? Saving the galaxy?" And then we see that it's 7 of 9. So given this very relaxed way of speaking, and again, her wearing seems to be regular clothing, it seems to me that they're trying to tell us visually that 7 is human now, right? Because that was her whole arc in Voyager, right? Going from a Borg drone to an individual, to a human being. As I said in the other video, literally learning how to human again. So I'm hoping the way I'm taking it is that this is to show us that she has adjusted to human life, and that she is living, for the most part, as a human being, right? Not just in appearance, but also in speech and personality and everything else. So it looks like she's finally learned how to be a human again. Now, it makes me wonder about her supposed marriage to Chakotay, because I think that was one of the things that was mentioned on Voyager, like the last episode, right? That at some point she and Chakotay were going to get married. I have to admit, given that I never liked the character of Chakotay, I found him terribly boring. I'm hoping that either that didn't happen, maybe one of those things where it gets retconned, or if it did, that maybe the character is dead. I hate to say that. I hate to wish a character dead, but I just really never liked Chakotay. And the pairing of him and Seven just seems so out of left field. So I'm hoping that it doesn't really come up, right? So if they say, oh, he died, I'm like, okay, too bad, so sad. Can we move on with the story now? But anyway, getting back to my point. I'm thinking that what the visual is that she's not really 7 of 9 anymore. More that she's Annika, right? I believe her name was Annika Henson before she was assimilated. So it wouldn't surprise me, for example, if Picard turns to her and goes, "Oh, hello, Seven," and then she says something to the effect of, "Now I haven't gone by that designation. I haven't used that name in years. My name's Annika now." That's the type of thing I would expect, given the way she looks and the way she's speaking now. And then you have the end of the trailer, which shows Captain Picard playing cards with somebody, and he says in this very broken, forlorn voice that he doesn't want the game to end. And then we see Data, and Data's like, "Well, yes, I can see that, Captain." So that was really fun, especially since I remember several years ago, it had to be probably around a decade or so now, where Brett Spiner said that he didn't really think he could play the role of Data anymore because he was getting older, and it was becoming more obvious, even on screen, even in all the makeup, that he was getting older, and Data, being an android, isn't supposed to age. That'll make me wonder about things like Rust, but still, right? He isn't supposed to age, at least not the way a human does. So, remembering that, remember him saying that he really didn't think he was going to be able to play Data anymore, and to see him back as Data, to hear his voice again. That was really cool. I'm wondering if they're using makeup and CGI, right, to make him look like Data again. Plus, I just love the effect of his eyes. His eyes being so gold and almost cat-like, which makes sense, he had a cat, right? And just looking so inhuman. That was probably like the biggest thing. I just kept staring at his eyes. So that was a really nice visual. So, long story short, I liked the trailer. I have my concerns, but overall I liked it. Again, nothing that made me upset or anything. Again, I have my concerns as I've gone over, but I am cautiously optimistic. I'm hoping that it's entertaining. I'm hoping it does well, because I would really love to watch some new Trek. But at the same time, I was burned by Discovery. I was really hyped for that, especially when I heard that Michelle Yeoh was going to come on as the captain. And then 2 episodes in, her character was killed, and I officially noped out. So I'm hoping that this show will not make the same mistakes that Discovery made. I'm hoping that it will respect the source material, that it will respect the characters, both the ones that are returning and the new ones. I'm just hoping for a good Star Trek story. That's all I ask for. That's all I ask for. I don't want or need Kate Mulgrew's misinformed and baseless opinions. I don't want anybody's misinformed or baseless opinions. Just give me good Star Trek. I am not a hard woman to please. Just give me good storytelling. So I'm keeping my fingers crossed, right? I'm hoping this will be everything that Discovery is not. And when I say that, I mean good and entertaining and Star Trek. So anyway, that's the video. Please let me know what you think in the comments, and I will see you in the next one. Have a good night or a good day wherever you are. Be safe. See you around. Bye.